Hello friends, and welcome to the Fabric Anatomy episode of yesterday. It's the first of our April release collections to ship out to stores. This one, I have to say, is particularly special because it's our first collaboration, but it's extra special because we collaborated with Juliana Horner, who some of you would probably know is my oldest daughter. Juliana is an amazingly talented designer. She is a graduate of Pratt Institute with a fashion degree, and she has done fabric collections long time ago, but these are actually her return to fabric design, and I could not be more thrilled to include them in the offerings with Anna Maria Textiles. We have a few words from Juliana to talk a little bit more about her inspirations.
Hello, my name is Juliana Horner, and this is my first collection for Anna Maria Textiles, Yesterday. Because this collection marks my return to fabric design, I wanted to call it Yesterday, both in reference to implementing some of my older designs in new colorways, but also my general love for all things vintage. I'm an avid collector of old postcards, stamps, fabric, clothing, magazines. Basically, if it's older than 30 years, I want it. I think what it is about older designs is the level of detail that is put into them. I love adding small things that may take a while to see so that it can continue being special throughout the entire time that you use it. So, with all of that in mind, I pulled together a series of 6 prints that really vary in size and intricacy to create really fun depth in any sort of patchwork project. The colors are really bright with plenty of fun details no matter where you cut the fabric so that you can create your own fantasy garden. And this is me pretending to be Anna Wintour telling my mom notes on the collection. Sometimes it's helpful to be assertive. Anyway, I am so thankful to share this with you and so thankful that my mom is such a great speaker, so I'm going to let her finish this out.
I want to show you these piece by piece, and I'm going to start with the tiniest scale and work our way up to the biggest scale in the collection. The first that I'm going to show you is called Poppies. I don't know how Juliana did it, but somehow she did travel back in time to yesterday, and she completely emulated the types of fabrics that my mom used to make dresses for me out of. It's this sweet little calico, but if you get really close, especially if your eyes are good, you can see that this little field of poppies is actually punctuated with teeny tiny little butterflies. It is so sweet. And I love this kind of bubblegum pink and cornflower blue with a white background. And then here's a nice, it's electric, but it's also still so vintage and fun. Here's a nice bright golden yellow on a teal blue background with black leaves. And these little butterflies almost remind me of little fireflies, the way they glow. We printed these in Japan, and the quality of the screens is just remarkable. They're so beautiful. And speaking of vintage, this is just a really gorgeous, even vintage colorway. It's got this sort of burnt sienna leaf and then like a true poppy red flower, and it has a very pale aqua background. The next print in our scale order we called Little Heaven. This is one of the most beautiful 2-color prints I think I've ever seen. And I'm not saying it just because my daughter designed it. Just the intricacy of the details and how carefully placed all these tiny elements are. There's such a nice even tone of detail in this. In other words, it doesn't get too heavy or too light in any one spot. It's just such an even-handed, really almost like a lace, which I absolutely love. Obviously, I love the pink and the cream, but this sort of washed out denim blue against a more ecru, almost tea-stained white is so beautiful too. If I had to guess, this is Juliana's favorite colorway. And we have a very fresh, springy green. Most of the whites in this collection are going to be closer to a cream or a tea stain. And then we used white almost like a punctuation. And speaking of, there's white in some of these pieces. This is such a fun piece. This is called High Score. I can't remember which one of us came up with that name, but I really loved this in terms of its vintage appeal. It sort of reminds me of vintage dishes from like the 30s, 40s, 50s with their little regular styles of florals. But it also reminded me of a video game, which is really just storytelling on Juliana's personality and the types of things that she's interested in her art. I absolutely love this one. It's so sweet. It's vintage without being old, and it's contemporary without being overly slick. It's still very a warm and cozy piece of fabric. And then the next one is simply roses. This is a print that she had done years ago. These are just new colors and kind of a perfected version of those roses, but they make such a wonderful blender. I feel like we should have an entire basics collection with this print because it works so well as a blender with other fabrics without being too ordinary like a dot or a stripe. This one I hope comes off really well in the video. It's a little bit hard in photography to appreciate how beautiful that deep green is, kind of like an intense Kelly green, and then a very pale lilac, and then the markings on the roses are like a nice kind of army yellow green color. This one I love. This is just so like 80s cool. I had this like hot pink and black polka dotted outfit that was my absolute favorite to wear in the 80s that I wore with black leg warmers. So it reminds me of that. All right, so you've seen Little Heaven. This is Big Heaven. I decided that that lacy print was so beautiful. We really should look at it in stronger and bigger scales because I think that it can really contribute something to your patchwork projects that the tiny ones don't. This would make an amazing Valentine fabric actually, because there's these little hearts in here with the pink and the red. And then one of my favorite color combinations ever is this sort of army green brown color with a nice coral pink. Absolutely gorgeous. Finally, the largest scale print in the collection are these carnations. This is another print where Juliana has revisited a popular design and we've given it new colors that I think are just absolutely stunning. This is almost a purpley lavender pink background. It's not too pink and it's not too lavender. It sits right in the middle. And then the carnations are this nice tomato red. You'll be able to appreciate it when you have the fabric in your hands. These leaves have a really nice gradation of color from the outer tip of the leaf down to the center of the leaf. It passes from one color to another. And on this yellow colorway, it has these deep purple veins, which are so pretty. Finally, the last piece is a gorgeous aqua color where we're just aqua on green here with some little highlights of purple describing those carnations. I'm just in love with this collection. All the pieces as a group are an absolutely beautiful mix of color. You truly do have the entire spectrum here. So it's a wonderful opportunity in your patchwork to do something that's color ordered, and you have lots of medium tones with some glimmers of highlights as well as some nice deep darks. And you can see in the quilt that we decided to do, we did a traditional Lemoyne block in the Yesterday quilt. And this does have a Y seam, but this is a wonderful opportunity to learn that technique. It's not as hard as you think, but we used every single piece of Yesterday. We just really played off the different color contrasts and the scale contrasts, treating one star at a time, sort of like its own little composition. Okay, so you've seen every piece in the collection, but you know that my favorite thing to do is to lay the fabrics out in their vintage, cheery, and lush categories that we do for every single Anna Maria Textiles collection. But I think I'm going to let Juliana do that. So what I have first here is Juliana's beautiful vintage colorway. It is exactly that. Look how pretty that is. Now, vintage doesn't just mean that it's like dull and overly soft. It still has lots of color in here. And as she was laying these out, I refer to this one as the Great Connector, and it really is. In each colorway, this high scorer print has a little bit of all the colorway, and it really helps pull things together. I also had already noticed how beautiful this collection looks with the original indelible colors, one of our basics collection. This is the indelible vintage palette from the original colors, and just look how gorgeous that is. In fact, we decided they were so pretty together in every single palette that we should really just combine the two and make a new color dive quilt. Color Dive is one of my most popular patterns, and it's available at my website, annamariaperry.com. And it's a simple PDF download. It's made of half square triangles and whole squares. It's a very easy one to make for a beginner, but it does something sophisticated with the color. Next, I want to show you the cheery colorway, and it is definitely that. Oh, so fun. This just like screams cake, ice cream, summer, mint juleps, strawberries. It's so, so beautiful. Again, the high score print is acting like the big connector between all of these. I mean, you'd even have an opportunity to do some wonderful Christmas projects with these red and greens together. I think a lot of this could be pulled into some fun holiday application and sewing projects. And just for kicks, let's look at what indelible looks like with that in the same colorway. This is also the cheery colorway of indelible. Absolutely beautiful. This deep dark really provides a punctuation that kind of refers back to that deep dark in the leaf. It has similar colors, but they're not exactly the same. And that's why I created that palette system, is so that it's not overly matchy, but it's very much a vibe. So finally, the Lush palette, which is gorgeous. It has the red flowers, those hot pink roses, red carnations, that is, that really electric poppy, kind of a softer pink for the high score, and then the bright bubblegum pink and this nice deep dark Big Heaven. This, again, it picks up on everything. You have some dark accents there, but you have all the bright, intense colors. And again, such a pretty mix with indelible. Love seeing all that together. Ooh. Juicy. I want to stop and sew now. So those are all the pieces. You have seen the art, you've seen the colorways, you've seen the full palette, you've seen the yesterday quilt. Well, we also have backing, of course. Backings #3 collection. We issue our backings by seasonal launch. So we took that Big Heaven, Little Heaven print and we decided to make it multicolor instead of just 2-color, and we enlarged it even more. So we have this really cool, truly cool, like the cool colorway. We have this sort of blueberry, berry, a little bit of aqua in there, and some of that black for some of your cooler quilts. And then we also have a nice warm and cozy colorway. These colors remind me of taffy. Between the two, you could basically cover the back of almost any one of your quilts with this collection. So in terms of projects, I have just a couple other cute things to show you here. We have this very traditional little half square pillow, which I think is absolutely darling. It's kind of like a broken dish design, but it also, you know, it harkens back to sort of the nostalgia and sort of the traditional quilting that we did in the yesterday quilt. We also have this really cute quilted vest by Sew Liberated. I thought it was just perfect for this collection, and I love how putting the star onto solid fabric really highlights the printed fabrics in yesterday. It's just so cute. It would be adorable dropped over any simple dress, but extra cute over Juliana's yellow carnations. Another amazing project that we did with the yesterday fabrics is my new pattern, the Rosebud Quilted Coat. I just thought it was the perfect opportunity to make a patchwork version of that coat. We made the body out of the carnation fabric, and then we did the collar and the sleeves out of the patchwork. Such a beautiful piece of clothing that's really special. And finally, some select shops will have a panel where you can buy just one panel that's already pre-printed to look like a log cabin, and it has a backing on it that is from one of my collections from the same release, which we'll be talking about soon, and even the straps. And we have this cute little mother-daughter collab pocket printed on the inside. You can choose any fabric that you want for the interior. But we thought that was a fun little project to celebrate Juliana's first collaboration with Anna Maria Textiles. We hope you love yesterday, and you'll be seeing them tomorrow or sooner. Thanks for joining.